Ladies and gentlemen, the youth of the modern era, welcome back. Where today we're starting up a new series, one that I've been looking forward to doing for a few weeks now, and I'm going to be calling this Modern Takeaway. A series where I can show you that the Bible is actually entertaining and still useful and relevant if we just put the time to dig into it. I'm going to be looking at these Bible stories that were written thousands of years ago and saying, hey, what can we learn from these stories that we can apply to our lives today? And I wanted to kick off this series with something that I've had in the works for a while now, and this is going to be how Jesus roasted people. Yeah, you heard me correctly. Jesus was out there roasting people before anyone even coined the term. Well, maybe they had the Greek term, but not the American one. English. But in case you don't know what I'm talking about his conversations with the Pharisees. You know, Jesus traveled to many places and talked to many people, but some of his most memorable conversations are those that he had with other religious leaders of the time. You know, Jesus is known for flipping religion on its head, as well as flipping tables in the temple. And we've heard these stories a million times, right? But today, I'm taking a different look at it and really diving into how exactly Jesus would respond to the Pharisees and kind of roast them, and what we can learn from it. Now, I split it up into 3 major basic principles that you can apply to all of your roasts today. Now, just for context, we're looking at his encounter with the Pharisees in Matthew 23. So if you wanted to look deeper into it, Matthew 23 is where we're going to be going, but without further ado, let's hop into it. So you must be careful to do everything they tell you, but do not do what they do, for they do not practice what they preach. They tie up heavy, cumbersome loads and then put them on other people's shoulders, but they themselves are not willing to lift a finger to move them. Now let's break this down a little bit. You see, first off, Jesus starts with a compliment, and he's like, yeah, do what they say. They teach good stuff, but don't do what they do. And there's the insult. But then he goes farther with the insult and actually backs it up in saying that they try to tell you to carry a load that they themselves do not actually want to lift. And that's going to bring us into rule 1. You see, a good roast always has something to back it up. See, Jesus could take what he said and actually give evidence to support it, and that's what made whatever he said so credible, and therefore his roasts, they hit differently. So like I said, rule number 1 is going to be able to back it up. You blind fools, which is greater, the gold or the temple that makes the gold sacred? I went ahead and I dove pretty deep into this one. I found out the word fools Jesus uses here, if you look at the Greek word for that, that can be closely translated to moron of the English language. So he's basically saying, you blind idiots. And then he backs up that they're blind and that they're idiots by saying, you guys have put focus on the wrong thing. And then he tells them exactly what they put focus on. But moral of the story, always be able to back it up. Woe to you, teachers of the law and Pharisees, you hypocrites! You are like whitewashed tombs, which look beautiful on the outside, but on the inside are full of bones of the dead and everything unclean. In the same way, on the outside you appear to people as righteous, but on the inside you are full of hypocrisy and wicked. In this one, Jesus calls them whitewashed tombs and hypocrites. And to make sure the morons know exactly what he's saying, he goes ahead and defines exactly what he means by whitewashed tomb. He's saying that they look nice, they can present well, they can give good information, but when you look on the inside, they don't really have too much. Like, there's no true substance to what they teach. And here's another key. You see, the Pharisees can't snap back at them. And here's why. That's going to bring us into rule number 2. Don't insult with something that they can use right back at you. You see, if you're going to go for someone else's head, you better not have something that they can fire back at you with. But you see, here's the difference. Jesus lived with integrity, so he couldn't really be questioned. Jesus can call them out for being hypocrites because he would always back up whatever he said. Therefore, they couldn't say, well, you're a hypocrite, because Jesus wasn't. And when you're roasting someone, it has to be simple, straight to the point, and powerful. And here's a simple trick. Live your lives with integrity. Be the same person, no matter who you're around or what you're doing. Just be you, and no one will be able to question you. Here's another one that Jesus said. Do not give dogs what is sacred. Do not throw your pearls to pigs. If you do, they may trample them under your feet and turn and tear you to pieces. Guys, here's rule number 3. Don't waste your time. Look, it's fun to roast other people, and it was fun to make this video to look into exactly the best ways to do that. But here's the thing. Some people just want to stir up conflict, and adding to it isn't really to anyone's benefit. Some people just want to be on top of everyone, and the best way that they know how to get on top is to push other people down so that they can use them as a ladder. They want to be the alpha male, like a dog. But see, this verse says, don't give to dogs what is sacred. See, make your time sacred. Use your time for God, and then don't give it to these dogs who just want to stir up trouble. Don't waste your time, your precious time, that you can be using for greater things. Don't waste it. You see, here's a nice analogy. People won't waste time punching a wall because they know that they're not going to be able to break through that. Eventually they'll walk away and give up. It's the same way if someone's talking to you and they keep trying to punch through that wall but they can't really get anywhere. Eventually they'll just give up. And you know what? It's so hard to avoid those people who just want to stir up conflict because they'll come after you. But if you want to avoid them, here's my tip. Live with humility. I found that humble people aren't often messed with, because the goal of someone who wants to stir up trouble is to offend someone. But people who avoid going around just flexing everything they have, they can't really be offended too easily. Humility is a biblical characteristic, and honestly, it's a really useful thing to develop for living in middle school, high school, whatever schooling, workplace, wherever you are. Humility is a good characteristic to have. And I'd love to explain exactly what humility is, but that's probably something for another video. As for now, I hope you learned something. I hope you learned something besides the fact that when I try to draw and animate, you put those together, just turns out to be an absolute masterpiece. But more importantly, I hope that you can take what you've learned and apply it to your life. But for now, that's all I got. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
Can I get away to a new day? Don't worry about the